Women in Business Now, a new survey from the Simon Fraser University in Canada has found that the presence of women on a board of directors encourages a greater focus on board practices and behaviours, particularly related to good governance. Imelda Dunlop is from the Pearl Initiative, joins me on the line. Imelda, it's good to talk to you.
Hello.
It's no surprise this, is it, really? To me, it's kind of fairly obvious. If you have a board with a male and a female presence, surely logic dictates that it just leads to a more balanced viewpoint.
You're right. I mean, the research shows that more diverse boards come with more differing perspectives, outlooks, skills, experiences, and that leads to a more active debate and better decision-making. So an overall better approach to company strategy and creating and delivering value for the organization.
Do you know what really stood out in this study, Imelda, was that it found significant improvement in scores with one woman on the board, especially in those traditionally male-dominated industries like mining, and an industry, and this is what stood out to me, an industry that's so important in this region, energy.
You're absolutely right, and I think that's a factor that, if what you want to avoid is groupthink. If you have a board of directors which all have exactly the same backgrounds and experiences, there's a danger that the debate is not active enough to get that level of strategic decision-making that you want. There was actually a piece of research that was published a couple of years ago which did make the link between women on boards and financial results. That piece of research was by Catalyst, and they found that companies with the most women on the board outperformed those with the least by 26% based on return on capital.
Which is a substantial percentage. Is it as simple as a recent report in the International Journal of Business Governance and Ethics leads us to believe that the presence of women on a board can be taken as a signal that a company cares more about good corporate governance? Is it really as simple as that?
I think there is likely to be a correlation. Companies that have very good standards and practices in one particular area of corporate governance are likely to have good practices in other areas. So if you take the whole arena of corporate governance and the way that the Pearl Initiative looks at it, is that it's across from board composition and board effectiveness, but it's right through to the way that the culture in an organization is embedded with the right sense of values, and then you have your compliance systems as well. So if a company has that culture at the root of the way it does things, it's likely to be outperforming across those range of metrics, to be honest.
Imelda, you work with the Pearl Initiative, and for those people who don't know, it's a not-for-profit, it's a private sector organisation set up to improve transparency, accountability, business practices in the Gulf. You're running a survey at the moment, actually, and I know you've had some initial indications of data from it. It's women's careers in the GCC, the path to the boardroom, and it's really, isn't it, an attempt to get insight on ways to develop more women through senior management ranks and to create from that a larger pool of board-ready women. Let me ask you very broadly, from what you've seen so far, this is an online survey, what you've seen and how's the response been?
So the research that we're doing at the moment, we have a survey out currently. We already have around 700 responses across the Gulf region from women in middle to senior to executive roles within organizations. And what we've been doing is asking them questions about the influences of both family and society on their careers, but also exactly what's going on in the workforce and what can be done by the leadership of organizations to strengthen that pipeline of women who are getting through to the most senior levels. What we're finding are, things that are really important for CEOs to think about are things like ensuring that there is a culture right throughout the organization that does not have a conscious or unconscious bias. That there are no sticking points in the middle parts of organizations that are causing women to falter and not continue with their career. Flexible working is really important, particularly in those critical years when women are trying to combine, careers with a family, but also, aspects and investment in development, training, career planning, things like that.
How much change are we seeing, in that case, translated to boards in the region in terms of female influence?
Well, there was a piece of research that we did at the Pearl Initiative last year, which was on governance in family firms. And one of the things we found there is that family firms in the GCC, a third of them have at least one female family member on their board. Now, that's very encouraging data. What we're trying to find out with this follow-on piece of research now is finding out more about that pipeline of women coming through the executive route towards boards, because that's where we feel the effort needs to be put in now in order for us to be able to increase those figures further.
Is a quota system the way forward? Is that possibly a way to go, or is that a step too far?
I'm not sure. There's a range of views on this point. A lot of women that we've interviewed say that they prefer to be assigned these senior roles on the basis of their skills, their experience, based on merit, basically. What we do find is quite successful with organizations is where they set themselves performance targets in order to recruit, retain, and promote women. So not an externally imposed quota system, if you like, but a company thinking about how they manage this proactively with their own performance targets.
So a cultural shift in some ways within the company is what we should be encouraging.
Yes, exactly.
Imelda Dunlop is from the Pearl Initiative. The story is, a new survey's found that the presence of women on a board of directors encourages a greater focus on board practices and behaviours related to good governance. Imelda, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.